Good afternoon. Well, the last cabinet meeting of this term has finished, but the three coalition party leaders have stayed behind to try to finalise a deal on climate targets after talks ended without agreement last night. Well, the target for agriculture is the main sticking point. Farming lobbies say anything above 22% is too much, while climate scientists say anything less than 30% means other sectors will have to make up the balance. Let's go live now to our political correspondent, Gavin Riley, who's at Dublin Castle for us this lunchtime. Gavin, they're still at it and no deal done yet.
They're still at it, and in fact you possibly might be able to see right over my shoulder at this moment, Colette, that they're still at it now in the courtyard here of government buildings. The three coalition leaders and the Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue had stayed behind after the conclusion of today's cabinet meeting to see if there was any scope for there to be any firm ground broken on these sectoral emissions targets, particularly that key question of how much agriculture would have to remove it by. Only in the last couple of minutes they've stepped out. I'm going to step aside from the shot actually, and you might be able to see them there at the top of the courtyard. You can see that Taoiseach Micheál Martin is still speaking with the Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue, and they have been in deep conversation for a couple of minutes there. Perhaps that's maybe a sign that there might have been some common agreement, or maybe it is a sign that the agriculture lobby is still, as of yet, unhappy with what has been put on the table so far. Either way, we're not yet aware of there being any formal agreement. Now, on their way into this cabinet meeting today, Eamon Ryan was once again talking of the need to try and get forward with cases because simply the society could not wait and the climate could not wait for any more further delays in these measures.
I think it's getting the right final result is what's important, and it will continue to evolve. You know, it's the science continues to evolve, the urgency, the need to act fast and act more gets clearer by the day. So we'll continue to represent that view, the scientific view, the view that we can't afford to wait, we can't afford inaction. That's going to be good for our country to make the moves we need to make.
Now, we know the Green Party is looking for changes at the higher end of the range of 22 to 31% that had previously been agreed by government. In fact, the Environmental Protection Agency says the changes have to be at least in the order of 28% because they simply don't believe it's possible for other sectors to make up the slack. And today we've even had the chairperson of the Green Party, Senator Pauline O'Reilly, suggesting on national radio that if the final cuts for agriculture were only in the order of 24% or so, that the Green Party might in fact walk from government, such as the significance of what this means to them. But on his way into the cabinet meeting, Micheál Martin was talking about some of the other positive contributions that agriculture could make in other areas.
The contribution of agriculture into the future to the energy situation in terms of the utilisation of anaerobic digestion, biomass through forestry, solar, will be very significant, in addition to the emission ceilings that eventually will be allocated to agriculture, as well as to other sectors. And all of that has to be, in fairness, taken into account, because there tends to be a sense that, agriculture isn't playing or making the same contribution as other sectors. It's making a very significant contribution already.
The Taoiseach's car has just left right this moment, so we'll wait and see exactly whether there is any guidance. The Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue is approaching us. Maybe we might get some sense of whether there's been any arrangement. No, in fact, that is not the Minister for Agriculture, so we'll plough on ahead. Now, one thing that is worth noting just about all of this is that there has been a suggestion from Fianna Fáil backbenchers who were keen to have cuts from agriculture at the lower end of the scale, around 22%. They're saying that instead of having all of this rushed this side of the summer recess, that it might be better to defer all these decisions until after the summer break, when everybody is around Leinster House again and all parties can take command of whatever agreement might be reached. The downside to that is, of course, that there's going to be a budget in around 2 months, and these cuts really need to be agreed sooner rather than later so that the budget can be drawn up with all of those measures in mind. So it seems as if this lunchtime, Colette, that the debate around what the agriculture emissions should be still goes on.
Right, Gavin, thank you very much for that. Well, for more, let's go live now to our news correspondent Richard Chambers, who's at the Department of Agriculture for us this lunchtime. Richard, those on both sides of this debate, if you like, keenly waiting for that figure and where government will land.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Colette, just as Gavin was telling you there has been a push from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers for a wait and see, let's push this decision off approach. That is something which is, interestingly enough, being mirrored by the IFA and the farming lobbies today. They say they want more impact assessments on what a reduction of between 22 and 30% in emissions from the agricultural sector, what that would actually mean for farmers on the ground. So it is an interesting shift. They are still saying that it needs to be 22%, but they are now saying that the decision is more important to get get it right in their view than to make a quick decision on this. But from the climate scientist side, they are saying that the focus being purely on agriculture, despite the fact that they say that it needs to pull its weight, it needs to do, as Ireland's largest emitter of greenhouse gases, it needs to do as much as is possible, or else the weight of that decision becomes too heavy on the rest of us, in particular in terms of energy bills and cars on the road and things like that. But they say that the singular focus on agriculture may be effectively diluting the quality of the discussion we're having on climate change. And the fact of the matter is that we all need to do more to reduce our emissions at this point. So two voices in the discussion. We have Professor Peter Thorne, climate scientist, saying that effectively we need to focus on delivery now rather than just agreeing the plan. And before that, Macra na Feirme's president, who says that there needs to be a generational shift now in farming, that younger farmers in particular want to see agriculture do what it can to reduce emissions because they will be the ones who will be working with climate change.
It's absolutely paramount that we get it right from an environmental point of view, and we also get it right to provide the opportunities for young people to grow into the sector and engage in the sector is crucially important, because at the moment we have 5% of the active farming population under the age of 35. We've more people actively farming over the age of 75 and 80 than we have under 35. And I mean, if that was in the teaching sector, or if that was in our nurses or our doctors, it would be a state crisis.
Agriculture getting to net zero would not solve our problems, because fully 2/3 of the emissions are from other sectors. They're from you and me and what we do at a fundamental level. If we make this all about agriculture, we fundamentally debase what is required in terms of climate action.
So the other elements of the climate plan, which of course have already been agreed, effectively would see a focus on retrofitting to bring down emissions from buildings. You would have a renewed focus on renewable energy. You have heard a lot of talk from government sources in recent months about Ireland becoming the Saudi Arabia of wind energy. Some people in the renewable sector saying that talk is slightly out of line, effectively because the national grid is so outdated that a lot of wind energy isn't being harnessed correctly. So a lot of talk about climate action, not a lot of delivery is the view from climate scientists and those who are working in the renewable sector.
All right, Richard Chambers live at the Department of Agriculture. Thank you for that.